Oh, hi. Uh, 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 oh, you've forgotten to do the mouth before you do the nose. And, row. And it's just, you just gotta just say, seriously, because you just want to present the episode. Of course, my wife said I can watch it. Ah! Hi. 1982. The Thing. John Carpenter. I didn't see this in 1982. I've got vague memory of seeing this in 1984, so I would have been 8 years old. Very wise. This is the point where video has just come into the house. My brother is 7 years older than me, so he's been watching his mum watch it. No, actually, mum was at work most of the time. I wouldn't say absent parenting. I'd just say it's more about earning a living back in then. So this is a film which very, very first time I got vague recollections of. There's going to be a spate of films that have actually been in the cinema, such as this, because I am looking at films before they're removed off streaming services. So, and looking at not having any money. So, my brother would have rented this in the big, oversized book VHS Panda Pops thing. I probably got through the first 15 minutes and then fell asleep because he's told me there's aliens and I'm thinking E.T. and then there's a dog and just blokes talking balls. Which ironically is the general consensus when it came out in the theatre in the States. So that would have been my first experience of the thing. My later experience, which put me off seeing a film for a woeful amount of time, would have been 1994. Would have been 3 weeks into first term of Essex University, and one guy's got a VCR in his room and has joined the video club. So we go into his room to watch the video. Leading this is Communist Chris. Communist Chris is, as you can imagine, not so much the whitest as most luminescently Draco Malfoy-esque of us all. So anyway, with his sort of Tom and Light sensibilities, he's got everything. He's got the Rage Against the Machine T-shirt. He's never heard of the band, but he's got Che Guevara on it. He sells copies of the Socialist Worker, and once he was genuinely did this. I got there through clearing, so I had no grant check until the second term, in which point I got 2 grant checks. And he was able to convince my vulnerable mind, and just, feeling a bit, because, I needed the grant, but I wasn't in as dire straits as many others that I knew from school, that I should buy him a beer on the grounds that he wasn't eligible for a grant. I had no idea what that meant. Now he probably sells guns. Anyway, so Communist gets us to watch this in his room, and he does that thing where he's explaining everything as we're all watching it for the first time. I had to bail out. I had to bail out before the first alien spaceship, because he was just going, now look at this, now look at that, now look at this, to such an extent I just felt like one of his dates that he had decided the kind of men I'm 47, the kind of guys I represent are the kind of guys who spent their 20s playing their guitar at women and looking really intense at them, as if that's somehow wooing and seductive. Nick Helm is banned from the comments. That's a joke, incidentally. The reason I also meant Nick Helm and Nathaniel Metcalf, I'll throw into the bonfire as well, is they do a fantastic podcast called the John Carpenter Appreciation Society. I made a point of trying to get back to this one they did of the 40th anniversary. Fortunately, they're not that guy. Although, in order not to just mimic them, I will say that at the point I listened to, Nathaniel owns the thing, hasn't watched it recently, and Nick Helm would rather watch Big Trouble in Little China because it's more entertaining. They're fools. That's not what this show is about. This is the misanthrope. So I'll also add a link to their podcast, Consume and Obey, so you should watch that, listen to it after this. So the point being is that I see this film myself now. Own it, yes. Watch it quite avidly, no, casually on a regular basis because of its meditative tone. It's my mindfulness training in action. It is, I think there's an argument for it being the wokest, most left-wing film ever made. I'm surprised that Republicans aren't slathering at banning it because it's ultimately a bunch of entitled, largely white guys who really think they know better than everyone, have all the leverage, and just end up with everyone dead and things being burnt to the ground. Purely on their own. It's not even toxic. It's just guys being guys. It's what they do. Probably second only to Reservoir Dogs. My point is going to be coming up soon. The captain of the ship of this whole crew, when faced with a guy who's turned up with a rifle, right? Yeah, you can go, he's a crack shot and he's able to take out the guy with a rifle. At no point does he actually go out to try and protect his men. No, he just breaks a window and sniper fires the guy to death. There is no attempt at mitigation. There is no attempt at negotiation. At this point, the guy with the rifle doesn't realise that anyone else has a gun. No, just shoot him. Just shoot him. Xenophobia, straight off. Right, so you got that going for you. It is hard to watch the film in a post-pandemic world, in a post-demic world. None of them understand the concept of isolation. One of the most telling points is, and I think it's very important to mention this, is that Giles is there's only 2 black cast members, and I'm Team Giles for all of it. The main reason why is that he makes the right call throughout the entire film. Yet gets relegated, gets a shitty reputation as being like not even. I'll give an example. The scientist, who everyone should be listening to in the first place, loses it when he understands the scale of the situation. So he starts smashing everything up. Because he doesn't want anyone to get off the encampment. It's best that everyone die there. He's already gone straight there. Do not pass jail. Do not. You've got to be fucking kidding me. Yeah. Yet, Giles is trying to negotiate. Dark, let's calm down. He gets shot at, right? Macready runs at the guy with a table, right? Macready shoots the animal rights activist. Macready, at the beginning of this film, which sets up exactly what's going to happen, when he is in a losing situation against a very basic computer, which, when we think about it, he must have played more times than Windows watched that episode of Wheel of Fortune. Throws whiskey on it, goes, oh, thank you. I've had a falling out with a guy who did a very similar thing. And it's just like, I don't like the fact that you've accused me of being vulnerable, so therefore I'm going to burn everything. Table flip. Absolute table flip. And he does that in the first 5 minutes. What happens at the end? Absolute table flip in the last 5 minutes. I'm Team Niles, man. Team Giles, man. Niles. I haven't watched it that avidly. I've got to admit. It's one of the first times I've watched it properly. It has amazing suspense. I think it would have been wasted on me as an 8-year-old. I think it was totally time and space element as an 18-year-old. Once I finally got to see this film in my 20s in its entirety, yes, I totally got it then. I do think that its story does end, and I want to sort of finish this one with this. The story ends brilliantly. You don't know. You don't know if the thing would know your memories. You don't know if Giles. You don't know if Macready is the thing, right? And as a little coda, I watched a thing called the Halloween Cafe. Now, this was a thing on BBC Two, very Alex Cox kind of movie drone thing. They got together Ramsey Campbell, John Carpenter, Clive Barker. I think James Herbert may have been there. Peter Ackroyd was there. Lisa Tuttle was there. Maybe even Poppy Seabright. It's been a long time since I watched it. It is on the YouTube. Right, BBC Two. Peter Ackroyd and Ramsey Campbell, I definitely remember. Clive Barker, Roger Corman. And John Carpenter came out with this fantastic point about the end of the thing. He had done a test screening of the movie, and a young woman came up to him and said, so which one of them is the thing? Is either of them the thing? I want to know, is there anything I've missed here that would tell me whether or not they are safe or not? Right? To which John Carpenter responded to her, no, there's nothing to tell you either way in the film. You haven't missed anything. The whole point is you have to use your imagination for what comes next. To which the reply he got was, oh, I hate that kind of thinking. That story has lasted me for decades. Has lasted with me for that. I think the beauty of the ambiguity of the ending is totally where it should be. I understand that he's gone back on that. I'm really sad that he has. I have read the Dark Horse comics that followed it on afterwards, and they went with Niles. I keep getting Niles Giles mixed up. Giles. They totally went with having Giles be the monster. I just didn't like that. I didn't like that at all. I think Macready should have been it. I think Macready should have had the memories of the thing, and that would have been a twist for any sequel that was made. So do check out Consume and Obey. I hope you've enjoyed this little bomb. As I say, always use your imagination when you fill in the gaps. How many times do people jump to conclusions when it comes to politics, socioeconomics, and demographics, yet you're given a story and you expect everything on a plate? That is what's wrong with this society. And with that, I'll bid you adieu.